Prehistoric species of man. History of evolution. We, the modern protégés of apes, have a vast history of transformation and evolution that we also need to understand in order to realize the nature of our existence. These can only be comprehended by studying the fossils of ancestral apes. First stop will be Propliopithecus and Egyptopithecus, found in Fayum Depression in Egypt, who were cat-sized creatures and thrived on the planet some 34 million years ago. They are represented by the fossil jaw and teeth, and presumably were the original generalized forerunners of hominids. The fossils of Limnopithecus and Pliopithecus were also found in Fayum Depression as well as Lake Victoria in Africa, and were found to have a short tail and 7 lumbar vertebrae, representing altogether a different line of evolution that became extinct. Proconsul, also found in the same place, is regarded as an ancestor of modern apes and of man because of the rounded forehead like that of the modern man and canine teeth like that of the apes. Its forelimbs were shorter than the hind limbs. Later, Dryopithecus came into being and had frontally broadened jaws, semi-erect posture, large canines and 5 cuspid molars, and was without brow ridges. It is regarded as a common ancestor of both man and great apes. Sivapithecus was next with its forelimbs, skull and brain like those of monkeys, whilst the face, jaws and teeth of apes. It seems that both were descendants of proconsul-like ancestors. Oreopithecus, found in Tuscany, Italy, was the last known in this series, with teeth that were unlike those of any monkey and ape, and were incredibly similar to human dentition. The canines were relatively small, the face was short, and the pelvis was broad. It might have walked erect, and might have been an offshoot branch from the common ancestors of ape and man. About 14 million years ago, the hominid stock came into existence as tropical forests began to be gradually replaced by grassy lands, and the herbivorous great apes of the Pliocene were therefore forced to give up arboreal life and adopt terrestrial life. Grasslands required fast movements, which forced ancestors of man to adopt an upright bipedal gait, which was certainly advantageous as hands or the 4 limbs could be used for some other purposes like picking fruits, hunting, and for defense. Some important ancestral apes of the hominid group that flourished in Asia and Africa were the Ramapithecus and the Keniapithecus, found in the Shivalik Hills in India by Lewis and Lake of Victoria in Africa by Leakey, that dwelled around 12 to 14 million years ago. They had relatively small and delicate jaws, a man-like dentition with semicircular teeth line, arched palate, and a more upright face. These hominids were man's earliest direct ancestors. Paranthropus and Zinjanthropus, found in Africa by Robert Broom and by Leakey respectively, around 1 to 8 million years ago, were about 145 centimeters tall, robust, and walked with their heads held erect. Their cranium was flat, with almost no forehead, but had brow ridges, a low bony ridge on the top of the skull, a cranial capacity of about 615 centimeters cubed, and had the knowledge of making tools of stone and wood. Australopithecus, or the African ape man, was later found by Raymond Dart in the form of a baby near Tuang in Africa, and was believed to belong to a form which was a direct hominid ancestor of man, Australopithecus was about 150 centimeters tall, and its skull was like that of modern apes, with a cranial capacity of about 600 centimeter cube. But its jaws and teeth were like those of man. The structure of pelvic girdle shows that it walked almost erect and had a low forehead, brow ridges projecting over the eyes, a protruding face, lack of chin, lumbar curve in the vertebral column, and a broad basin-like pelvis. The freedom of four limbs for locomotion and their use in handling tools for hunting and defense by Australopithecus required a lot of intelligence to regulate the work of four limbs. This requirement led to a rapid growth of brain, culminating into the modern man, the Homo sapiens. A number of species of the genus Homo appeared in the evolutionary scene and became extinct before the origin of the present-day man. These extinct species of Homo are called prehistoric species of man. Homo habilis, or the tool maker, found in East Africa by Louis Leakey, from 1.6 to 1.8 million years ago, standing 120 to 150 centimeters tall, having a large brain with a cranial capacity of about 680 centimeters cube. Its lower jaw was lightly built, and the dentition was more like that of modern man. It walked erect and lived in open grassy lands. Next is the Homo heidelbergensis, found at the sand beds at Newa, near Heidelberg in Germany, who dwelled about 1 million years ago. Its dentition was like that of a man's. Presumably, it evolved along an offshoot of the main human evolutionary line. The Homo erectus, or the Java ape man, found at the bank of the Solo River at Trinil in Java by Mayer, slowly appeared on the scene during this period. The Java man was widely distributed during the early and middle Pleistocene, some 600,000 years ago. He stood upright to a height of 150 centimeters. Its forehead was receding with prominent brow ridges. The heavy jaws were prognathous, protruding forward with almost no chin. The teeth were large, but quite like those of the modern man, except larger canines at the lower jaw. The lips were thick and protruding, and the cranial capacity was about 900 centimeters cube. This man made more sophisticated tools of stones and bones, including axes, and lived in small groups in caves. This is perhaps the first prehistoric man to make use of fire for hunting, defense, and cooking. The Homo erectus pekinensis, or the Peking man, and the Homo erectus mauritanicus were the two variants of the Homo erectus or Java man. The former was about 155 centimeters tall and was lighter and weaker than the Java man, with its lower jaw being lighter and the skull being thick, with a cranial capacity of about 1075 centimeters cube. Atlanthropus mauritanicus, and later renamed as Homo erectus mauritanicus. It is the most primitive ape man found so far in North Africa. This hominid was advanced than the Java man and the Peking man, and had a low cranial dome, heavy projecting jaws, and no chin. After the prehistoric man, the dawn of modern man started slowly rising out from the horizon, and the archaic Homo sapiens came into existence. The Homo sapiens neanderthalensis, or Neanderthal man, found in the Neanderthal ravine in Germany, was the most distinctive of the Homo sapiens species. The Neanderthal man arose some 150,000 years ago and became extinct about 25,000 years ago. The typical Neanderthal man was short, less than 150 centimeters in height, but was heavily built and very strong, with curiously outward curved thigh bones. The thick-boned skull was depressed and protruded behind. The forehead was low, sloping broad and flat. The brow ridges were prominent, and the lower jaw was deep with almost no chin. The cranial capacity was 1,450 centimeters cubed, being equal to that of the modern man. Homo sapiens fossils of the Cro-Magnon man, first recovered from the Cro-Magnon rocks, dominated the Asian and African continents, unlike its European counterpart, and lived nearly 50,000 years ago and became extinct only about 20,000 years ago. The Cro-Magnon man was about 180 centimeters tall, with a sturdy body and a cranial capacity of about 1,660 centimeters cubed, much more than the modern man. His face was perfectly orthognathous, with a narrow elevated nose, broad and arched forehead, moderate brow ridges, strong jaws with man-like dentition, and a well-developed chin. He was a swift-footed, cave-dwelling, hard-working, and an intelligent hunter. He knew the art of painting and did excellent paintings and carvings of animals on the walls of his caves. From this took the birth of the man of today, or Homo sapiens, rumored to first appear about 11,000 years ago in the region around Caspian and Mediterranean seas. From there, it diverged westwards, eastwards, and southwards, changing into the present-day white, Mongoloid, and black or Negroid races, respectively. The world of human evolution helps us understand the origin of our past and the identity of our present. All we can do is marvel at the fact that we were a creation of millions of years of evolution.